मस्त रहो, किसी से कोई मतलब नहीं। तुम नास्तिक क्यों? नास्तिक कोई किसी में बिलीव नहीं करता है, ईश्वर वगैरह किसी में। धर्मशीलता, सारे आचरण ऐसे करेगा जो धर्मयुक्त नहीं है। बुद्धि निरोधक, बुद्धि भी विभ्रम हो जाता है, अज्ञानी है, दुष्ट बुद्धि हो जाती है। धीरे धीरे जब इस प्रकार की स्थिति होती है तो हमेशा मेंटली पीस उसका डिस्टर्ब ही रहेगा। दुर्मेधस्तम अकर्मशीलता, कार्य करने में विश्वास ही नहीं करता हो, बस पड़े रहना है। किसी प्रकार का कार्य करने में निद्रा, लोग तो बहुत अधिक नींद आती है, सोता रहता है कुंभकर्ण की तरह। नेक्स्ट है ना, इधर टाइम हो गया। इसी को कुछ पूछना है तो आयुर्वेद से रिलेटेड, आयुर्वेद पर्सनालिटी से रिलेटेड कुछ भी, किसी के क्वेश्चन हो तो पूछ सकते हैं।
पूरा उधर 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 का उधर पूरा निकाल लो, पूरा लेफ्ट साइड में। The house is open for question and answers if somebody wants to ask anything. Yes. बेटा एक दिन ना माइक फिर दोस्तों
काफी टाइम बड़ा है, प्रकृति चेंज भी होती रहती है। प्रकृति देखो, अगर आपका एज के अकॉर्डिंग डिपेंड करता है। अगर आपकी एज जिसको बोलते हैं ना 16 ईयर, लास्ट लास्ट बोला है मैंने, डेवलपमेंट जो होता है ना बॉडी का, वो 16 to 18 ईयर तक होता है। तब तक अगर आप में कुछ चेंजेस आएंगे तो आएंगे, बाद में नहीं आएंगे। उस समय तो होते हैं, मैंने बताया ना, पोस्टनेटल फैक्टर्स, जाति, कुल, देश, काल, वयोनुपातनी, प्रत्यात्मनीयता, ये इफेक्ट डालते हैं। एनवायरमेंट में आपने मान लो कि आपका जन्म तो आसाम में और आप शिफ्ट कर गए जोधपुर में, तो आप में चेंजेस आ जाए। पूरी चेंज नहीं होगी, कुछ चेंजेस आ जाए। ठीक है, थैंक यू सर।
Thank you so much, sir. Professor Dinesh Chandra Sharma, sir. It was really very enlightening session, and we are looking forward to have an appointment with you for Prakriti analysis and personality analysis. Bilkul, sir. We are looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर।
So, with immense pleasure, it is my privilege to welcome our next speaker, Honorable Sir Kiran Kumar Salgame Sir, as our Chief Distinguished Speaker. He is a distinguished clinical psychologist and former professor at the University of Mysore. He earned his PhD from National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences. He currently serves on the Governing Council of Indian Council of Social Science Research and is the Vice President of International Transpersonal Association. His work in Indian psychology, meditation, and transpersonal studies has earned him national and international recognition. We are honored to have him with us today. Now I would request Dr. Hemlata Joshi ma'am to felicitate sir.
No mic. Stand दे दो stand mic दे दो collar mic नहीं you don't have the collar no sir unfortunately चालू है सर
So, good afternoon, everybody. You did have a very excellent presentation from the earlier speaker. So, my presentation is, as the title says, how do we integrate? How do you bring all these information that we have into our counseling or clinical practice? You see, as psychologists, we are neither here nor there. When I say I'm neither here nor there, what I mean, we don't have a foundation for modern psychology today, because till last century, psychology was heavily oriented to reductionism, biological perspective. So we all have studied brain is the seat of mind, and that thinking has persisted even today. I'm sure psychology students here are aware. You take any book on introduction to psychology, you will find that most of them are biologically oriented. We don't come across the word soul. And in the Western intellectual tradition, the word mind and consciousness are used interchangeably. Same set of ideas, same set of models and theories. They are discussed as models of mind in one book. They are discussed as metaphors of consciousness in another. So, and for a long time, we believed whatever mental processes we had, they are all epiphenomenon of the activities of the brain and nervous system. Epiphenomenon means something which comes out because of the activity of the mind. So even today, the same reductionist, biologically oriented thinking and approach is continued in all psychology books, and you are all studying that. So, holistic approach is something which tries to say something different. What is that? Mind has an existence. Then it also speaks of spirit. Okay. Now, when the idea of mind operating independently of biological, physical process, this idea was first proposed by Sigmund Freud. You all know he was a neurosurgeon. He could not find a proper physical, structural, or functional cause for certain clinical conditions, then he postulated the idea of mind having conscious, subconscious, and unconscious process. So, though Freud was a doctor, though he was trained in physiology, anatomy, it was a genius that he proposed a theory of mind. Okay. So now you see, after Freudian theory came, then gradually we started speaking more about mind as a process, independent of time. But even today, if you ask what is mind, how does it work, we fall back upon some structural metaphors. Okay. We speak about information theory. We take the analogy of computer, input, processing, output. So that is because when we say mind, we don't have a locus of the mind somewhere. The locus of mind, at the most, we say is in the brain. Okay. But knowledge has advanced quite a lot. Because physicists were the first to give us some understanding of how the universe works. So we studied, there is something called mechanical worldview. This whole universe works like a machine. Okay? So we had Newtonian mechanics, and it was called classical physics. But somewhere around mid 1950s or 1920s, or in the beginning of 19th, slowly physicists themselves realized that when matter is reduced from molecule to atom, and from atom to what is called particle, electrons and neutrons, the principles of Newtonian mechanics are not sufficient to explain, understand behavior of electron and proton and further particles. So there was a change. There was something called quantum physics. So quantum physicists had to develop a new set of principles and laws which are applicable to the behavior of particles. And from that, the idea of energy, quanta, came into existence. So finally, what is called solid matter. Physicists today say, yes, all this looks solid, but if you break down and go down, finally, it is all energy. So this is called modern physics or new physics. Now, what has happened? Once quantum physics developed, automatically the idea of how our universe operates itself has changed. The very thinking about the functioning of the universe itself has changed. The notion of time and space has changed. Okay, what was possible? See, there was a time when you needed wire to connect a jack to make a call. Today, without any wire, we are communicating. This is a wireless system, for example, what I am holding. So that means what was not possible then is possible now. Okay. So if you extend this thinking to mind, what you call Descartes' dualism, mind-matter. Mind is there, matter is there, mind is inside. Outside, inside. So that thinking itself is undergoing a radical change. So today, the frontier science who are thinking about what is mind, what is matter. Now the thinking has changed so that mind is not local. Mind is not related only to brain, or brain is not producing mind. On the other hand, mind is there and brain is only a receiver. This is a shift in thinking. And secondly, we thought we are separate. So my mind is encased in my body, and your mind is encased in your body. So this was the thinking, some kind of a separation. But today, a new concept has come called non-locality of mind. That means mind is not operating locally, not here. See, imagine you all have experienced perhaps. Suddenly you think of somebody and you will receive a telephone call or a message, or a person will come. You think of a relative or a close friend or somebody. So you, in the next few minutes or hours, there is some kind of a communication that has happened, either the physical presence or not. Or for a mother about the child, there is a feeling of apprehension. Something is going to happen or has happened to my child. So now, this earlier we think, oh, it is my imagination or my coincidence or this or that. But today, science is accepting that even though we are separated physically, mind is operating in a non-local way. Now, how did all this came? How did this change in thinking happen? The change in thinking happened because quantum physicists found that what are called particles, those particles, though they appear to be at distance, there is something called a phenomenon of entanglement. That means, entangle means something connected. So if some change happens here, somewhere far off place, some change can happen. So there is some kind of a connection, connectedness. So similarly, matter and mind were thought to be separate. But today, matter and mind are not considered as separate. There are theories proposed which says matter and mind both are manifestation of something more fundamental. So all this thinking is happening in physics, in biology, and everywhere. But in psychology, we are still holding on to Newtonian framework of mind. That is why you don't find many things of all these things in psychology books. But at the same time, because of all these developments happening, because of advancement in medicine, back in 60s, 70s, 80s, many new developments happened under the name of mind-body medicine. Okay, psychoneuroimmunology, okay, biofeedback, and so like that, a lot of developments started happening because biologists, medical people, physicists, they all found that somehow our body and mind cannot be separated, because the idea of psychosomatic medicine came in 1940s. then psychophysiological disorder came. So gradually, the idea that body and mind interact also came. Once the body-mind interaction came, mind can control body came. That was the time meditation was introduced by Maharshi Yogi in United States. Swami Rama of the Himalayan master fame, he went and demonstrated that through yoga we can control our autonomic nervous system, all physiological systems. So what happened? There was a total gradual change in the way you started looking at man, his capacities, what is man. So this is one stage of holistic approach development. So earlier, brain, mind, that kind of dichotomy was there. Then the interactionism come. Then came mind is more important than body. So this is one stage of holistic approach. Then the second stage of holistic approach started happening because, particularly in the medical field, the doctors who gave up certain cancer cases, they said you have only 3 months to live. But that person came back after 6 months or 1 year to the same doctor and said, please check me. And when checked, there was no cancer. So the doctor had no way of explaining how it happened. So when the patient was asked, he said, somebody prayed for me, or I prayed and this happened. So that kind of thinking made certain physicians in the United States to start wondering what is happening. What we cannot explain, something else is happening. So that is how a new way of thinking started happening. And you must have heard about pranic healing, Reiki, and all that, right? So now, when this kind of thinking happened, what is pranic healing? How can you know what is, you must have heard about it. You just send some energy to the body. How does energy goes to the body? So where is it going? If it is going to physics, or is it going to something else? So the idea of energy body came out. So gradually, when people speak of energy medicine, energy psychology, have you heard of energy psychology? Yes. So all these developments, once it started happening in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, then you automatically, National Institute of Health, United States, started accepting homeopathy, Ayurveda, and Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and everything as alternative and complementary systems. Okay, allopathy is there, but alternative and complementary. So this is how gradually, over a period of 30 to 40 years, the idea of holistic approach, holistic healing, and all these have developed. Go to the next slide. No, not that. I have numbered it, but you had already, main thesis. What happened to that? Okay. Will you? Yeah. Make it please. See, now I have given you a background. Don't think all these developments happened only in psychology. It has not happened in psychology. Psychology is still in the 18th, 17th century. Okay. So we have to jump and come to mainstream. All these biology, anthropology, physics, mathematics, chemistry, all the developments happened, have pushed holistic approach into the mainstream. and medicine and psychiatry, etc. So now you see that what exactly, how are we going to integrate the Indic healing system into our clinical counseling, psychology, etc. So there are many challenges, there are many issues. That is what I am going to share with you. You see, whenever we think of healing somebody, treating somebody, we have certain terminologies, medical terminology. What are they? Symptomatology, etiology, pathology, and treatment of a disease. Now, these are integral aspects of a system of medicine. Whether it is allopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, or psychotherapy, you take anything. What is symptomatology? Suppose you go to a doctor and you say, "Doctor, I have stomach pain." What is the stomach pain? Stomach pain is your experience. So doctor will ask, "What do you mean by pain?" So then you have to explain, describe. You have to say, "I feel, some kind of a squeezing is happening, or I feel my stomach is bloated, I'm feeling pain," something like that. When you describe, that is called phenomenology. That is your experience. Now you go with this description, with this pain. You can go to allopathic doctor, you can go to Ayurvedic doctor, you can go to homeopathic doctor, you can go to a pranic healer, you can go to anybody. But the next thing is, how does that doctor of a particular system understands your experience? So according to his system of training, he will interpret your experience within a particular framework. Right? Okay. So for him, squeezing of the stomach is a symptom of something. And then he starts asking questions. What did you do? What did you eat? Did you take water? Did you not take this? Do you pass stools? How many times you visited toilet? Or do you have a headache associated? He will ask all these things. Now, all these are interrelated things. That means, now the question comes, an allopathic doctor has only asked all these questions. But an Ayurvedic doctor or a homeopathic practitioner will also ask, what do you like? Which food type you like? How frequently you eat? And so many questions. Now, why that doctor is asking all those questions? From an allopathic point of view, it is irrelevant whether you do this or not. But for a homeopathic doctor, it is giving some information. Okay? And for an Ayurvedic doctor, that is giving some other information. Now, why that information is required? There is a philosophy behind it. There is a framework behind it. And within that framework, this information is important. So, all that you heard about Ayurvedic doctor's explanation, the Ayurvedic doctor is trying to understand what prakriti you have. Whether you are dominated by Vata, whether you are dominated by Pitta, Kapha, etc. Similarly, a homeopathic practitioner is also trying to understand your experience in terms of your habits, this, that, etc. So that is etiology. Etiology means cause of a disease. Now, then comes pathology. What is pathology? Pathology means the organ system which is affected. Okay? Something has happened in a particular organ system. So now you say, I have stomach pain. Is the stomach pain because something happened inside the stomach? Is the stomach pain a part of digestive system, something happened? Or is that stomach pain is happening because of something in your skeletal-muscular system? Allopathic doctor will only look at your digestive system. Whereas a homeopathy doctor or an Ayurvedic doctor will say your stomach ache is because of something happened in particular muscle or this or that. So now comes the idea of not thinking only in a narrow way, but in a broader way to include certain things. So you have to be treated not for the stomach, but for your muscular system or something which is causing the stomach pain. Similarly, headache or anything else. So that is called pathology. So it is the pathology which will decide what treatment you get. Okay. Is that up to now it's clear? So now there is an intrinsic relation between symptomatology, etiology, pathology, and treatment. And underlying each system is a worldview about the nature of reality and of man that serves as a paradigm within which all the activities of a physician takes place. This is true even in psychiatry and clinical psychology. So when you started earlier, only brain was treated first, then Freud came. What was Freud's discovery? The famous case of Anau and others. Anau's inability to speak or inability to move was not physical. He found out that she has a lot of pent-up repressed emotion. Whenever she did a catharsis of that, suddenly her, paralysis kind of thing was going away. So Freud was able to connect. It is the emotion suppressed which is causing this functional difficulty. That is how he developed psychoanalysis. So he said, her problem is not in the nervous system. It is in her mind, in the unconscious. So you see, now we are speaking of a world view which is changing, a framework which is changing, a way of thinking. Then, after Freud, of course, Jung came. So what was Jung's contribution? Freud was always thinking about sexuality. All symptoms are repressed sexual desires, so its manifestation through ego defense mechanism. But Jung said, okay, I agree with you, but don't try to interpret all dreams as symbolism of sexual organs, etc. Some dreams are influenced by another layer of consciousness. There is something called collective unconscious, besides the personal unconscious. So when that happened, what happened? What is collective unconscious? Jung said that is a layer of our mind which is connected to Everybody, our ancestors, their experiences, everything is in our mind. So the very scope, understanding of mind itself expand. So that is Jungian thinking. Now, you have come up to that level. So, what is holistic? What is the term holistic? What level of holistic you are speaking about? Whether you speak of body, so then that is how the idea of biomedical changed to biopsychosocial. So your problems are not just biological, there can be a psychological and social contribution. Then came another addition, spiritual, biopsychosocial, spiritual. So what does it mean? What is spirituality? What is the meaning of spirituality? You can understand spirituality at different levels. One of the levels of understanding the meaning of spirituality is to accept there are certain influences happening from certain extra human entities. As we call in India, we have, pretatmas or other kinds of, souls that exist. In this incarnate entities, they are influencing this and that, or according to astrological changes which are influencing. So now this is there. So this is another level of inclusion. So we started from body, we included mind, we thought of unconscious. Then we said, okay, social influences determine us. Then, Ayurvedic doctor was saying ecology, your environment influences. Then beyond this physical environment, there is something supernatural that is also occurring. So now the idea of holism gets keep on expanding and becoming more and more inclusive. So this idea of holism expanding is happening today. To what extent? To what extent that Western researchers are examining, investigating the effect of meditation on, criminal activity. For example, if a group of people across different states, different countries, if they did do meditation, will the crime rate go down? So Maharshi, Yogi did some research on that. Suppose, there is something called distant healing. That means I am here, I am the clinician, but the client is somewhere else. Can I do a healing of that person? Yes, possible. Now things are slowly coming up. Okay. So now what is happening is there is a change in the way we are looking at universe itself. Okay. So all these are to be taken as holistic. Holism does not mean only taking into account a particular thing. So that means we are ready to go to the next level, accept something beyond ourselves, beyond our physical body. If we are willing to go beyond our physical body, then we already have for 10,000 years all these ideas and different models of looking at man and his relation with environment in our country, in our culture. Out of that, Ayurveda is one systematized method of doing, but Suppose you are a psychologist, you are not an Ayurvedic physician. I am not an Ayurvedic physician. So, if I want to deal with my clients holistically, how am I going to do it? Am I going to use behavior therapy? Am I going to use CBT? Am I going to use REBT? Am I going to use something else? Or if I want to integrate Indic healing system, how do I do it? What shall I do? So this is the question. Please go ahead. No, just skip that. That's not this. Okay. See, here is something. In the morning, so many people have spoken about swasthya. So, I will only go to what is prasanna atmendriya manaha. Okay. Now, what is prasanna atmendriya manaha? What is prasanna mana? What is prasanna indriya? What is prasanna atma? First of all, the word indriya doesn't mean eye or ear in Sanskrit. Indriya means it is that psychological process of sensing, hearing, everything, where this physical organ is only contributing the information. So, the meaning of word indriya should not be mistaken as these physical sockets, etc. Retina and all that. So, indriya, so where is indriya? Then, manas is itself called antarindriya. And indriya is related to something called sukshma sharira. So, their problem starts. Once you say sukshma sharira, where is sukshma sharira? How do you demonstrate sukshma sharira? How do you conduct an empirical study? So this problem will come. But so far, people are able to negotiate it. There is something called Kirlian photography. You keep your your hand on a photographic plate. A Russian, scientist was able to picture the hand, and he found that there is some aura, some field of light. So that is called Kirlian photography. That is an indirect or an evidence to say there is something called energy body, as they call it, or subtle body. That is okay. But we also have another concept called Karana Sharira. So we have the Stula Sharira, we have the Sukshma Sharira, we have the Karana Sharira. So now somebody comes to me with some problem. Then if I have to understand that person from an Indic healing point of view, I need a model of man, right? So what are the models of man I have? You go next. No, you go, just go further. Okay. I will just interrupt for a while. You see, I have taken this from a paper. In our country, there are 3 types of healers. One is professional healers, known as Vaidya. Ayurvedic doctors are Vaidyas. Okay. They deal primarily with physical suffering, though they frequently practice what we can call psychological medicine. So that is one set of people in our country. Then we have folk and popular healers, who include palmists, horoscope specialists, herbalists, diviners, sorcerers, and ojas. You have heard of all these names, right? Then we have third healers, mystical spiritual healers, who include sadhus, saints, priests, and swamis. Primarily, they work on religious faiths and belief systems of the community. So now, it is something like a square peg in a round hole, in the sense that we are all trained for 3 years, 5 years in modern psychology, okay, studying Maran and Mishra, and which doesn't speak of any of these things, and suddenly you come across all this information. Now the present day psychologists, or in general psychology, modern psychology challenges, there are two levels of challenge. One is even accepting a different worldview, then what you call spiritual worldview. Because as I told, modern psychology is still operating under traditional Newtonian mechanics, reductionistic, biological oriented paradigm. Okay? So you go and teach that only in the class. And we are making syllabus only in that. But we are also saying there is Indic healing system and we have to bring it to mainstream, we have to practice this, that, and all that. So this is the square peg, and that is our round hole. You cannot put that way. So either you continue with Freud, CBT, REBT, etc., or you change your perspective, you change your worldview. You believe, yes, there is Deha, there is Manas, there is Jiva, there is Atman. Okay. Atman, you cannot do anything. Because the word Atman in Sanskrit, it means something related to self. That is the general dictionary meaning of Atman. But the spiritual meaning of Atman in our country is something beyond all this, which is something you cannot do anything about it, because you cannot touch it, you cannot feel it, it is not destroyable. Okay, it is always there. So you can either be Atmagnani or not, either or phenomenon, as we teach in your nervous system, you know. It is either or, either you are a Gnani, you are Atmagnani. Otherwise, you are a Agnani, according to Vedanta. Agnana means not having the knowledge of Atman is Agnana. So therefore, we will not bother about Atman. No. But we have Jiva, we have Manas, we have Deha. Where is Manas? Manas is some kind of experience which connects Deha and Jiva. So therefore, what are you treating now? What models we can take? Please go ahead. Make it big, make it. Okay, make it still big, yeah. Okay. So now comes, as far as I have gone through different literature, we can develop some systematic methods of healing, resolving, healing, keeping one of the possible models. So the first one is of the notion of Sharira. So I have already told you, Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. Then did it switch off accidentally? Okay. So then you have notion of chakra. You have heard of Shat Chakra. I was watching this picture. I don't know who made it. Why there are only 4 chakras? Why not 6 chakras? Because what happens, according to the standard understanding, it is always called Shat Chakra. But here only 4 are shown. In India we can have lots of such variations, so I'm not commenting or criticizing. I happen to notice it, so I have brought to your notice. Generally, we have the concept of chakras. Okay. So, Sharira, Chakra, they are considered to be real. Okay. They are real in some sense. Whereas, metaphor of chariot in Kathopanishad, you must have seen, in wooden plate, Krishna, Arjuna on a chariot with reins of the 5 horses. That is something which has come from Kathopanishad. So, in that says, the person, you think your body is Ratha, and the person, Jiva, who is there, is you are there. And then you have the buddhi, and you have 5 senses through which manas goes. So buddhi is to control. So this is coming from Kathopanishad. This is another model. Then we have the famous metaphor of ocean, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha. Some people refer to them. So these are metaphors. These two. Whereas those are not. So now, if you go to Google, you will find that a lot of Westerners have been using all these things. Okay? For holistic model. So now, in India also, we are using all these things. We are trying to develop all these things. But, if some client comes to me, how do I recognize a person's problem? Whether his problem is because of Pranamaya Kosha or Manomaya Kosha, or is it Vijnanamaya Kosha? So now, certain attempts have been made to correlate, just like the Ayurvedic doctor correlated, with the 5-factor model. So now, physical Annamaya Kosha problem is related to DNA, nervous system factors, all that, how your brain works, and many of the neurochemicals and all that. Then comes the Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is related to vitality in general. So emotionality, impulse control, regulation of impulses, many of these are related to Pranamaya Kosha. Then the imagination, fantasy, confusion, anxiety, and some of these are related to Manomaya Kosha. And inability to take decision, proper planning, execution, they are all related to Vijnanamaya Kosha. So now, there is a lot we need to do systematically to actually understand and relate our modern psychological understanding with the description given in our Shastras. For example, recently, some husband and wife, they are conducting wellness, many non-psychologists are doing a lot of wellness and other things. Psychologists, we are only studying more and more theory, but we are not doing anything. Non-psychologists, they have been doing wellness research and treatment for last so many years. They want to publish a book. So somewhere that person found my name, and he wanted me to write a blurb endorsing the work they have been doing. So I said, okay, send me what you have done, and I read through. Then I found that Vijnanamaya Kosha is, associated with so many things, Viveka, intuition, and all that. I said, and even I had written something to that effect. He had quoted me. So then I got a doubt. So I went to read Viveka Chudamani of Shankaracharya. And there also, the function of Vijnanamaya Kosha is given as only decision making, proper thinking, determination. It does not say anything about what is called Viveka. Viveka is discrimination, higher order wisdom. So I wrote to him, please don't write anything about Viveka when our Shastra has not supported. But he quoted somebody else. How did that came? That came because somebody else has published a paper in Journal of Transpersonal Psychology. So you see that there are lots of such misinterpretations, certain other things are happening. That is where it is necessary that we conduct some proper research. We have to develop our own inventories, questionnaires, because to share with you, please tell me my time. Yeah, so how many more minutes I can take? Okay, just tell me whenever I want you to.
So like the tea will be ready in a while.
Okay, fine. I already also need tea. Okay, I'll stop. Okay, so it was in '93 when I came. One of I read something on an article in a chapter. I read a psychoanalyst saying, if you do meditation, you become regressive. That means you lose all your ability for mental health. Something like that, according to psychoanalysis. Because Freud himself has said meditation is regressive. It is not progressive. So I was wondering why such misinterpretation happens. So we don't, according to our shastras, if you do meditation, you become more sattvic. More sattvic means you develop better viveka. That is what shastras. You don't become abnormal. So what is this problem? Is it a translation problem? Because ahankara is usually translated as ego. Okay? But Freudian ego function is different. So I said, okay, we will conduct some kind of a dissertation study. So one of my students was also interested in that. So we developed what is called Ahankara questionnaire. We studied all the literature available, how Ahankara concept is described. And we found there are 4 factors of Ahankara. According to what Shastras, what are the 4 factors? One is individuality. That is individuality as what I think I am. My unique abilities, my aptitude, all that. Then second factor is identification. That means I relate, my family, my culture, my country, my nation, my religion, my caste, all the identifications we have. Then differentiation. That means self and other. Then the agency. That means I am to do it. The feeling of executing. So we identify 4 aspects are there. Whenever we speak of I, one of these 4 factors are operating. I did this. That is agency. This is my family. That is identification. I can sing better. I can sing like Kishore Kumar is my Indian. Or, I am this caste, he is that caste, or I in group, out group is self-other differentiation. So once we got this, we also developed 12 ego function structured interviews in some kind of interview schedule. And then we took meditators, non-meditators at the control group, and we administered and then we subjected it to factor analysis. Then we found that ahankara and ego functions, they follow two different factors, what is called orthogonal factors. That means they are not the same. So what is ahankara? That means self-sense. If whatever I think I am, that feeling of I am is ahankara. But if that feeling becomes too much, and because of that you start looking at somebody else in a way, then it is durahankara. That is egoism. Otherwise, ahankara is self-centered. Whereas ego functions are all mostly related to regulation of our drives, planning, reality orientation, and so on and so forth, which is called ego functions. 12 ego functions according to ego psychology. So what happens then? There is a problem in translating Sanskrit concepts, our Shastra concepts, not clarifying. Okay? So therefore, what we require is proper understanding of the Indian concepts also, number one. Once we have a proper understanding of what the Sukshma and Karana Sharira says, for example, Sthula Sharira, you know that if we have to get BP checked, we have an instrument. But have you heard of Nadi Vaidya? Nadi, Vaidya. You go to a Nadi Vaidya, he simply puts his finger there, he feels the pulse, and he can tell what is your BP. Now, that is part of Sthula Sharira only. But modern medicine is not able to measure Nadi, whereas a Vaidya can do it. That means there are so many things we are still not discovered about gross body itself, which Ayurveda has found out. So, first of all, we have to develop a proper understanding. Then, we have to choose any of these. Nowadays, a number of people are using the Kundalini Yoga Chakra model. And Westerners, they have spontaneously experienced those chakras, those energy, coming up. And there are so many books coming which speaks of the correlation of the characteristics. So, each of us may have naturally activated chakra without our knowledge, because our country is highly spiritually oriented country. So, it is possible that we can consider them as planes of consciousness. Somebody is operating from the Mooladhara level, somebody is operating from the Anahata level, somebody is operating from Manipura level. Their locus of identity is there, but we have not done any research on it. Okay, spontaneously we may be functioning from different levels of chakras. We don't know. Okay, so if we want to integrate these things, first we must understand this model, these notions, get a proper idea, then keep in mind that what will be the pathology, how will you understand it? Okay, what is wrong, where the chakra is bothering, or where a particular Sukshma Sharira is depleting energy. So we must develop that. And once we develop that, we also have to not only, it is not a question of treat doctor-patient model. No, it is client and therapist, as Rogers put it. Okay, we are healing partners. So it is your consciousness also should change along with it, and you should be able to understand it using that model or that lens. And once you do that, then you are on a right track to do it. But unfortunately, today, all these efforts are going on out of psychology means. Okay, we don't have enough role models who have already done it and who can transmit that knowledge. Because all kinds of clients cannot be treated in the same way. Say, for example, I will give you one, it all depends upon knowledge, understanding. There was one boy who was an engineering student. He came to me with some problems, and he had told me that he had some homosexual abuses in the hostel, but he also expressed a lot of spiritual interest. So now I had some counseling sessions with him, and then I did what you can call supportive therapy. I assured him that if somebody has abused you, then you have also allowed yourself for abuse. So, because he had a disturbed childhood. So I said that is okay. But he also had a spiritual inclination. So I just suggested you go and live, keep going to a particular ashram and keep visiting, spend some time there. So I told him, because he's a Keralite, I said there is Madhamutanandari ashram, you can go there. But he was studying in Bangalore. He started going to Ravi Shankar Art of Living Foundation. And going there, visiting, being there, after some time, he felt so happy, he completed everything, he had no further problems. And then he went to Kerala also. There, in some Amrutanandamayi's center, he joined us some IT fellow, and he is very happy. Now, what did I do? I didn't do anything, in the sense that I didn't treat him with any particular technique or anything. All that I did was, I guided him to a right place. But even for me to guide him to a right place, first of all, I should have the faith that this is how it works. Secondly, I should accept it. And I have to give the suggestion. Right? So that means my framework has to change. My awareness has to change. Okay. There was another person. She is an IT professional. She worked in America. She worked in London. She was in a company. Somewhere she found my name on Transpersonal Association website. So one day she called me from Chennai and said, I want to come and meet you, sir. These are my problems. My parents are not accepting my problem, my experiences. They think I am schizophrenic. I said, okay, you come over. And fortunately, she brought her father. So we had a long conversation. I listened to all that. And I said, you are not schizophrenic. I can assure you, I'm a clinician. I can tell you, are not a clinician. You did have certain spiritual experiences, but you didn't know how to manage it. Okay. So subsequently, her father also accepted after I told her. And then she was in continuous touch with me for some time. She was married, she had a daughter, but husband was a relative, but he was not good. So finally, she got the strength and courage, support to apply for divorce. And she is doing a lot of counseling work using narrative therapy, storytelling. See, why I am giving you all this is, holistic approach means there is a lot of inclusion. Okay? My grandmother used to do something like, my brother used to get stomach pain. So my grandmother would put some salt on, and some mantra to the salt, adding mantra to the salt. And she would give me and say, ask him to first mix it with rice, eat first, and then take another food. His stomach will go. Now, how do you explain this? What does it mean, adding mantra to salt? But the research just shows now that if you pray, for example, continuously, if there is a glass of water, because of the prayer, effect of prayer, the molecular structure of the water can change. Stanford University is conducting such research. Okay. Now, what is happening, unfortunately, for psychology? Psychology is still remaining in the medieval period. We are in the period of artificial intelligence. But mainstream psychology across world, not only India, still we are holding on to Baron Mishra's book or Sicarelli's book or some other textbook, and still we are trying to find mind in one part of the brain, localization. And the localization theory was given up long ago when Penfield brought anti-localization theory. So my pleading is, you can't help students, you have to study whatever syllabus you have to pass that, get your degree. But in addition, there is a whole world of artificial intelligence. Go to Google Gemini, go to Perplexity, go to Claude, explore all these things. Okay, there is a website called New Thinking Allowed. Okay, New Thinking Allowed. Right? So there you will come across lots of interviews conducted by one Jeffrey Mishra. He is a parapsychologist from Indic. He has conducted lots of interviews on all kinds of things which psychology book will not even touch. Okay, so on reincarnation, out of body experience, near death experience. So you can just go there and search and get all that knowledge and try to do whatever empirical is possible. Okay, thank you.
Any questions? The house is open for questions and answers.
Yes, I am ready.
Anyone? Yeah.
What's
Another question. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful talk, covering up Advaita Vedanta and then bringing in the psychological aspects and also the healing aspect. I really enjoyed the session that you have taken. Thank you so much. And it's indeed, we can understand that it's very difficult when you are focused or when you are trained in one particular way, one particular stream based on the syllabus. Then shift the mindset to holistic healing. But in spite of that, you have done a wonderful job. I think I really thank you so much.
You increase your pitta, vata, then all of you increase your vata, you can be shifting your mind.
Yes. Anyone else?
Yeah.
सर आपने की बोली थी कि साइकोलॉजी के स्टूडेंट होते हैं 4 साल का कोर्स 6 साल का कोर्स करते हैं देयर आर सो मेनी फ्रेंड्स ऑफ माइन और क्योंकि मैं पिछले 5 साल से मेडिटेशन प्रैक्टिस कर रहा हूँ तो उन्होंने कोई साइकोलॉजी का कोर्स नहीं किया और अच्छा अर्न कर रहे हैं कहने का पर्पस ये है कि मतलब मेरे को भी ऐसा लगता है कि जो हमारे साथ में जो लोग हैं अभी जैसे आपने सुना इनर चाइल्ड हीलिंग का एक कंसेप्ट है एक हीलिंग मॉडलिटी है तो वो बेसिकली उसका पर्पस ये है कि जैसे आपने कहा कि सेंस ऑफ सेपरेशन है ना तो हमारे डिफरेंट पार्ट्स हो जाते हैं अलग अलग पार्ट्स में डिवाइड हो जाते हैं उस पार्ट्स को इंटीग्रेट करता है तो उन्होंने कोई कोर्स नहीं किया तो मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि हमें भी थोड़ा साइकोलॉजी की प्रैक्टिकल चीज़ों को इंप्लीमेंट करने की जरूरत है सो दैट जैसा आप कह भी रहे हैं बहुत सारी मॉडलिटीज हैं जो अभी मार्केट में और लोग उसको प्रेफर भी कर रहे हैं और उनके रिजल्ट्स भी आ रहे हैं जैसे इनर चाइल्ड हीलिंग हो गया फैमिली कॉन्स्टिलेशन हो गया शैडो वर्क हो गया सैम्पिज्म हो गया पास्ट लाइफ रिग्रेशन है, तो बहुत सारी हीलिंग मॉडलिटीज हैं, उनको भी हम बात कर सकते हैं उनके ऊपर। एक क्वेश्चन और था सर मेरा, आपने माइंड को लेकर के बोला था कि ना माइंड क्रिएट करता है सेंस ऑफ सेपरेशन। इज इट माइंड और इज इट ईगो टू क्रिएट सेपरेशन?
See, these are terminological problems because you should understand everything is mind. If you think there is mind, okay, because Advaita says there is no mind. Huh? So these are all different ways. Primarily, it is the language which determines what we are interacting. So I was referring to the concept ahankara. Okay. So in that context, I said one way of expressing ahankara is to differentiate between myself and the other. Okay. That is one way the mind functions, the sense of self functions. And if you go by Indian tradition, both Vedanta and Sankhya use the term antahkarana. So antahkarana, according to Vedanta, has four aspects: manas, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta. Okay. So if you ask from the Vedantic point of view, ahankara is that function. Okay. See, there is nothing like there is different things according to Indian tradition. Whatever we call antahkarana, that antahkarana, when is thinking, shall I do this, shall I do that, it is called manas. When that antahkarana decides, I am going to do this, that is called buddhi. And when that antahkarana feels, I did that, it is kartritva. And when the antahkarana says, I am nijaha paro vediti, somebody cited that, this person is mine and this person is not mine, like our caste or religion. That is called, at that point of time, it is called differentiation. Okay. But antahkarana is the same. What is that antahkarana? Is it related to parietal lobe? Is it related to occipital lobe? That's a different question. That is something researchers are trying to. People have lots of different research interests. You can do a research on which area of the nervous system shows MRI scan if you do, what kind of activity, neural network takes place when you are in the confusion state, when you are in the determined state. These are scientific research goes on like that. Okay. But the important point you have to understand is Indian thinking has depended on a whole world view. Okay. Where consciousness is considered primary. Chaitanya is primary. That manifests in all different ways. So we are trying to struggle between one Western worldview, which is material, and a spiritual worldview, which is different. So we have to be very careful. Okay. As far as your other suggestion, it is for other teachers, faculty members of other colleges, whether they want to include inner child healing, whether they want to do regression therapy. That is a good thing. But so far it is all remaining outside the mainstream. It has to come from America, then we will follow.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Namaste, sir.
Yes.
Thank you for the talk. I have two questions.
Yes.
पहला तो आपने जो बात किया था study where mantras changes the structure of molecular structure of the water or liquid. So in such kind of studies where we check the actual evidence that it works or not, so how do we ensure that or are there strong evidences where the placebo has been controlled?
Placebo has been
Controlled, like
okay.
the empirical
Yes, yes.
inquiries
Yeah, I
were
got it.
blinded.
I got it. Got it. Yeah, I am reporting what I have read, and those researches have been conducted with sufficient controls, in terms of experimental design. Yeah, because those are research studies which are conducted only by people who are very serious, who want to know what will happen. So, certainly those controls and experimental design, they are taken care of. Uh, but they are not frequent studies. Okay, they are not very frequent studies because such studies are not in the mainstream, right? You don't get funds for such studies many times. Okay, so some people who have an interest in that, they have done. Yeah, I got the question. My answer is yes, but any amount of such things, if you are skeptical, you don't accept. Because parapsychology research for past 100 years is going on with a lot of rigorous research. But people don't want to accept it. Because it is your ego problem. I mean, those who don't accept, it is their ego problem. They don't want to come out of that shell.
That is theoretical problem, but empirically, I think this is only thing where we are lacking with respect to Indic systems, that we have quite less amount of empirical evidences as compared to the other
Yeah.
leading systems.
See, I want to say one thing. Why do you say we lack empirical? You are speaking now in 2026. But if Ayurveda, Sushruta, Charaka, Vakpata were living 2500 years ago or 2000 years ago, do you think they developed all those typologies, all those things, just closing their eyes, sitting in some cave? Earlier people were living amidst nature, amidst forest. They were as keen observers of nature, human patterns, and behavior of animals, much better than what we are today. And most of our knowledge has come from observation only. Okay. But they never wrote, I did this on this particular day. They never wrote their biography. They never kept a log book. They never mentioned this is in Max Planck's laboratory in Germany. They didn't do that. So the problem is with us. No, it's okay. The problem is in our misunderstanding. The problem is in our misunderstanding. First Vedas, Rig Vedas, some Suktas, they are only called Apaurushaya. That means which happened to rishis. They grasped it, mantra drashta, as they say. Except for certain Veda mantras, rest of the Vedas, rest of the Upanishads, rest of the Ayurveda, Atharva Veda, they all have come from observation of those people. If they are able to describe all these 11 parameters which Dr. Showed us, do you think they got it all just like that?
Sir, this is our belief system that
No,
we are
no.
believing.
See, the problem is you don't know the original source. See,
But is West
No,
going to believe it?
No. Westerners are taking interest. Okay. lot of that. And they are doing. Can you give me that? They are taking a lot of interest. They are believing. We people are not believing because we are so colonized. We want everything to come from England or America. Then only. See, for example, this is a book, an integrated view of health and well-being, bridging Indian and Western knowledge. Okay, this is coming from Springer. Editors are two Ayurvedic physicians from Kerala. Okay, series editor is an Italian psychology professor, clinical psychologist, who spent 5 years in Kerala learning Ayurveda. And she was also past president of Positive Psychology Association International, Antonella Della Fere, if you have heard of her. She has been the series editor. Okay. I have also contributed a chapter to this. Now, the problem is they are open, they are investigating, they are trying to do all that. But we are waiting for them to approve all this knowledge. Then we will include in our syllabus. So, whose tragedy is this?
So my question was that can we ensure by more empirical studies
No, can you ensure
to
means
strengthen this system?
You do it. You do it.
Yes, sir.
I am already old. You do it.
Yes,
I have done what I could do. Well, you are asking, can we do it? Yes, you do it. That's why I come all the way from Mysore to tell you.
Sir, I meant.
Carry on the discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
See, we people are not ready to accept anything. When my students' synopsis was sent for Board of Studies, one of the Board of Studies member, who was also my teacher, she wrote back saying, this is like, treading a path where even angels are afraid to move. So she wrote it in a negative way. But our Board of Studies chairman, my colleague, said, Kiran, what do you say about this? I said, if she thinks that way, it is her problem. My student and we are ready to move. That is how we did our first research on a holistic approach. You should have the conviction that it is all there. And first of all, it is wrong notion to think these people were not empirical. They were empirical not at the sensory level also. Even at the transcendental level. Much of the spirituality of India has come because we have Atma Gnana. Atma Gnana comes from Sakshi Prajna. So from Sakshi Prajna, it is a higher empiricism than the Western empiricism. So you have to do it.
Definitely, sir. My only concern was that.
No.
My second question.
No, it will be later.
Just 2 minutes.
Later, bahar
No.
discussion karte hain.
You are operating from Manomaya Kosha. You have to move up to Vijnanamaya Kosha. Okay?
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No.
Yeah.
This is okay.
He's
See,
actually-
I'm telling you, Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manaha. Nischayatmika Buddhi. So you are operating in the Manomaya Kosha. You have to move to Vijnanamaya Kosha and say, Nischayatmika Buddhi, I am going to do it. Then things will be fine.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Pushpat, you can carry on with the discourse during the tea and afterwards. Sir is here. Yes?
Yeah, till tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir is here. And meanwhile, we break for tea and come back very, very soon. We are already running very late. चाय आपकी तैयार है 10 मिनट में वापस हाजिर हूँ धन्यवाद
I will you test your mic also first.
Yes, sir.
मोहन जी को मैंने कहा first test your mic also. Then I will check with sir.
Sir,
सर मेरा लैपटॉप
In case if you allow, I can.
It's not about allowing, it's about the technical part.
Details. Cycle laptop. आपका नहीं वो नहीं मेरा ही है presentation next presentation मेरा है do we have a printer that is here the presentation madam you have PPT option here and there is a video short video we have but we need the media in a pen drive so that we can share मैम आपके पास है
लेकिन अगर वीडियो करनी होगा तो सर कह रहे मेरे लैपटॉप से डायरेक्ट
No, I'm not talking it.
HDMI का शैल इतना क्यों था यार कितना गा ले हमारी में एक मिनट चेंज हो गया फोटो लेकिन मैं करियो ना वो मेरी में मैं गा लियो चाय भी बारी दिया के मैं बैठो तो मैं और दीदी हो वाटर भी हो गया और दीदी हो गया तुम सर मैं देख लीजिए मैं
पेन ड्राइव में डाल दिया मैंने
अच्छा वो नहीं सही काम नहीं कौन गाली मैं गाली नहीं 2 मिनट तुमने गाली वाला से नहीं नहीं मैं हम जब मैं गाना दियो मोबाइल काट लो मुझे गा लो एक नंबर खत्म हो जाता है 2 नंबर इनमें गालियां इनमें गालियां इनमें गालियां मैं एक नंबर में नहीं दो नंबर भाग में चल रहा है माइक जनवा खत्म तो होने क्यों ये चलो ने बंद करनी हम जब हाँ वो स्विच को बंद नहीं कर चलो राके आओ यार मैंने एक और मॉडल ने घेर आया कर बस सेल खाओ वो भी खा सही है बहुत ज्यादा नहीं ले तो जो कलर में फैंस नहीं कर वीडियो में स्टूडियो मास्टर है हैं कल मैं पूछो गया स्टूडियो मास्टर में सेल कम कल देखो बोले एसआर में आया वो तो 7000 6500 वो 5000 हो गया हाँ वो 495 में आउट और वो तो मार किट सेल में वाला चौड़ी पुराना हाँ 8 साल मैं पहले बैटरी आ 9 वाट वो तो मार घणी चले पहले 10 रुपया री लाओ दे स्टूडियो मीटर में वो कि हाली बैटरी में मैं हमें चेंज दिए बाकी स्टूडियो मीटर माइक आधा में थोड़ा मोड़ा मैंने व्हाट इज दैट कई बार तो 2-3 दिन चेंज कर लिया
आप कर लीजिएगा नहीं होगा तो करना इसका वॉल्यूम कैसे होता है आपको कुछ आइडिया इसका आवाज नहीं आ रही
How are you? Fine, thanks. What are you drinking? This is fresh milk. Fresh milk is back. Yes, fresh milk is back. That's nice.
लंच ठीक है, आधा घंटा रहा है 5:30
बात 8